classroom. AI has kind of hit the education place like a ton of bricks, right? And it's kind of everywhere right now. And we as teachers, we want to feel prepared. We want to make sure our students feel prepared. And I'm going to be showing you some great tools today. We're going to be learning a little bit about some terminology and kind of what to expect when you're in the classroom with AI. I have Michelle Wagner here from Wayne Risa. Michelle is going to be my co-pilot, not the AI co-pilot, but our Zoom co-pilot for our meeting chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. She'll be helping to monitor that. And I'm going to do my best to not talk too fast but I do want to make sure that I honor everyone's time today. So just a reminder, if you need the presentation, it's this tiny URL here at the bottom, or you can scan the QR code. I also did put it into the chat as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so what is AI? So when we think about AI, we really think about the ability of machines to perform tasks that normally, and they would usually require some type of human intelligence. We want AI to be able to understand language, to be able to complete tasks, solve problems. And we use AI all the time without even knowing about it. So if you have an iPhone or an Android, you are using AI. If you ever used Netflix before, GPS, all those are using kind of this AI system, right? This artificial intelligence system. And AI has been around for a long time, you know, all the way back from the 1980s when you had NWEA. I don't know if anybody had a Furby. I know those are kind of coming back a little bit. I think I saw them on my TikTok a little bit, that the Furby is actually coming back a little bit. Twitter, Facebook in the early 2000s, the Gravity app, all those different things use the AI processing. It was really when the ChatGPT came out in November of 2022 when it was like, wow, this is pretty incredible with what AI can do. I remember it was November of 2022 and I was, just doing my little ed tech geekiness thing and I came across ChatGPT and I just thought this is absolutely amazing. This is going to just be a huge disruptor for not only education, but just everything in the world. So it's been going around for a long time, and it was, again, that ChatGPT is kind of that bubble that burst that really kind of made people pay attention. When we're learning about AI, there's a couple different terms that you're going to hear me say, or you're going to kind of read about when you're learning about AI. So the first one is the generative AI. So when we think about ChatGPT, that's the generative AI. And so when you're really looking at artificial intelligence to create new content, so it can create text, images, music, based on existing data. And so generative AI and ChatGPT is also limited in that it only goes through, I believe, 2022 or 2021. I believe that could be a little bit different now, but its limitations in terms of any kind of current events or anything happening kind of now. Then you have machine learning. Machine learning is a type of AI, so you can kind of think of AI as like an umbrella, and then machine learning and generative AI are kind of underneath that. If you have an iPhone, you have the Face ID whenever you sign in with the passwords, that is using machine learning. I know I recently went to Denver for a conference, and when I was flying out of Detroit, they have that big machine where you can look up at the screen and it only shows you your flight because it's recognizing your face. Kind of creepy a little bit, also kind of a little cool geekiness kind of a thing. And then you have the natural language processing. And natural language processing, this is when you're really almost like you're interacting with a human. So this is what we refer to as a chatbot. So if you're ever on a website and you've got the little speech bubble in the bottom right-hand corner, you got this little chat that you can talk to, that is a chatbot. And that is using natural language processing, trying to mimic what a human is. All right, so One of the biggest things that came out with ChatGPT was this Dolly, this Dolly. So Dolly was a image creation program, being able to create images based off of text. Thank you to Michelle for providing this to these graphics for me. When she showed me this, I was like, this has to be my presentation because it's amazing what ChatGPT and what all these different programs are able to do in a short amount of time. So the image right here, the prompt for the image was student looking outside of the bus. And so you can kind of see, this is very early on in kind of the Dolly 3 kind of era. You can kind of I always kind of think this is like almost like a deer or an aardvark kind of over here. You can see that the mouth looks kind of funny on here. So a lot of different, kind of it did a pretty good job, when it was first coming out. And this was the same prompt, but 6 months later. So same exact prompt, obviously a lot more detailed, a lot more features that are a lot more lifelike, something that we expect now, but this was only after 6 months. And so, and I put this on here to say that it's going to be happening very, very fast, and we want to make sure that we are prepared and our students are prepared for the future when it comes to AI. So I'm going to play this little video right here. This is just a couple-minute video of one of the newest features of the ChatGPT 4.0. This came out kind of in May time, so a couple of months ago. I'm hoping the sound is going to work. If Michelle, if you wouldn't mind, just give me a thumb up if you're not hearing the sound.
Hi, my name is Sal Khan. I'm the founder of Khan Academy, and I'm also the author of a new book about artificial intelligence in education called Brave New Words. And OpenAI invited myself and my son Imran here to try out some of their new technology. And so we're curious about how good it might be at tutoring someone in math on Khan Academy. So let's get it started. It's loading up. All right, make sure it can see our screen.
Actually, in this format.
Hello there. I'm here with my son, and I'd love you to tutor him on this math problem, but don't give him the answer. You can ask questions and nudge him in the right direction, but I really want to make sure he understands it himself. And he's here in the room, so you can talk to him directly.
Of course, I'd be happy to help. Let's look at the problem together. Can you first identify which sides of the triangle are the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse relative to angle alpha?
All right, so I'm pretty sure this is the angle alpha right here, right?
Perfect. That's correct. Now, looking at the triangle, which side do you think is the hypotenuse?
Really,
Remember the hypotenuse?
I'm not totally sure. I think it might be this one, but I really am not sure. This side AC.
You're close. Actually, side AC is called the adjacent side to the angle alpha. The hypotenuse is the side of a right triangle and is directly opposite the right angle. Can you find which one is the hypotenuse?
Oh, okay, I see. So I think the hypotenuse is this really long side from A to B. Would that be correct?
Exactly. Well done. Now that you've identified the hypotenuse, can you identify which side is the opposite side to angle alpha?
Okay, well, I mean, you told me earlier that this was the adjacent side, and I know that's the hypotenuse. So I'm guessing that this side, BC, is the opposite side.
Great deduction. That's absolutely correct. Now that you've identified all the sides relative to angle alpha, do you remember the formula for finding the sine of an angle in a right triangle?
Yeah, I know that the sine is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse.
Perfect. That's absolutely right. Now, can you apply that formula to find side alpha in the triangle using the lengths of the sides that we've identified?
Okay, so I mean, you told me that 7, this side BC, is the opposite side. And then you said that the hypotenuse is the longest side, so that would be this side AB, which is 25. So would the answer be 7/25?
Excellent work. That's correct. Sine alpha equals 7/25. You did a great job identifying the sides and using the side.
So again, that was released in May of this year and it's still kind of in the beta phases with the whole interaction. So basically what they did was they just had ChatGPT up on an iPad. And at the very beginning, you saw the iPad was sharing its screen with ChatGPT. So ChatGPT has access to the screen, and through visual cues and through natural language processing, they're able to do that. One thing at the beginning that and you'll have access to this video with the presentation. One thing also to kind of keep note of is so if you ever heard of Khan Academy, that is Sal Khan. He has the Khanmigo, which is that also has kind of this AI powered tool as well. But at the very beginning, he was giving a prompt. And so when you type things in the chat GPT or all these other different types of generative AT models, you want to make sure that your prompt is going to be detailed enough that can also give kind of that specific information. So at the very beginning, he said, please help my son with this, but don't just give him the answer. Please ask him to ask questions. Please ask questions of him. And so that's really important that when you're thinking about prompt engineering and all that kind of stuff, when you start getting more into kind of the rabbit hole for AI, you'll learn different ways on how to make different prompts. So. All right, so now that we kind of a little bit of a background around AI, I want to talk a little bit about how to use AI and some best practices for using AI into the classroom. So the first thing I want to talk about is digital citizenship, and there's nothing, there's nothing new to citizenship. Digital citizenship has been around forever, and when we really think about digital citizenship, we want to make sure that people are being safe online. We want to make sure that we're being appropriate. And so when you're looking at ChatGPT, when you're looking at different AI models, you want to ensure that you have a good foundation of digital citizenship. So having that kind of that media balance, having the ability to, use technology, in conjunction with non-technology. So screen time versus screen time, making sure that screen time is meaningful, being active with screen time as opposed to passive. Thinking about online privacy, AI loves data. Data. It loves learning about data. And so we want to make sure that when we are using the AI, that we be very selective with what information is being put in there. So again, thinking about student data information, thinking about, addresses, phone numbers, all that kind of stuff, pictures of students, you want to be very, very careful and really want to think about student data privacy and online privacy when looking at AI. And then lastly is the news and media literacy. So if you ever heard of like deep fakes, a lot of this kind of AI programs are able to, create videos, be able to create audio messages. I think there was an incident, with the writers union strike in California around AI. So kind of this deep fake kind of thing. So how to check credible sources, where are sources coming from, thinking about citations and everything like that. So that's really, really important when you're starting to learn more about AI and then how you kind of vetting where some of this information is coming from. Next is kind of reframing the use around AI. And when I say reframing the use, a lot of people, when they think about AI and they kind of just go to this idea of kids are just going to use AI to cheat. They're just going to take the problems, they're going to copy it, they're going to paste it into the work. And then how do I know that they're actually learning something? How do I know they're actually gaining something? And so it's important as teachers to kind of have kind of a mindset shift on that. And so how can we focus on these tools to allow us to achieve those intended outcomes differently and better? So it's kind of like when Google was first coming out, right? So, people were able to kind of Google their answers. Well, then how do you make sure that you are coming up with questions and thinking about questions differently that were not Googleable? I think Googleable, yeah. And so I'm thinking about how can they be kind of this AI proof almost, and thinking about, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that can look like into the classroom a little bit later. It's appropriate to model appropriate use. So just with anything like you do in the classroom, when you're thinking about classroom management, when you're thinking about exemplars, if you model good behavior, your students are going to model good behavior when it comes to AI. So you really want to make sure that when you're learning about the different AI tools, and if you found some tools that you really like, try and use them as much as possible. Try and use them so you feel comfortable, because then when you feel comfortable and then the kids are able to use them, you're able to better support them later with it. Next word, you want to think about guardrails and not gates, right? When you're thinking about AI. So it's really important to learn how to use these tools effectively and how to use them safely. So you're going to find when you're going down the rabbit hole, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different types of AI programs out there. There's so many out there. It's such a big bubble right now when it comes to a lot of the different AI companies and what they're marketing to and everything like that. It's really important as you're doing your research and as you're trying to get to know these tools, come up with about 2 or 3 tools that you feel really, really comfortable with. And again, the more you use those tools and you use them in the classroom effectively and safely, the more likely you're able to support your students with that. Because what we don't want is we don't want students to not have exposure to these tools. And then later on in life, they're now using these tools for, I don't want to say nefarious reasons, but they're using these tools not safely if they used them when they were learning about them in your classroom. In this presentation, there is some AI specific lessons. So actually taking time to actually teach AI. And a lot of the different lessons that are in these, so I'll take an example, just kind of this elementary one right here. So these are actually lessons that were created by ISTE, which is the International Society for Technology and Education. And so there's different projects and different things that you can do with your kids that have to do around AI. They also have some curriculum connections in here. So when you're thinking about literacy or how to use AI with math and everything like that, but maybe spending a little bit of time each week just to kind of do a little mini lesson. If you want to think about your warm up at the very beginning of class, maybe doing some kind of prompt engineering. So thinking about your writing time or something. So it has a lot of great ideas in here. And so I have an elementary version and then a secondary version. The elementary is for kindergarten through 5th grade. The secondary is for 6th through 12th grade. And then lastly, it kind of goes back to the number one with a little bit of a add-on. Again, you want to master those 2 or 3 tools, but be aware of those freemium type tools. So when I say freemium tools, an example that I might have is like Nearpod, if you've ever heard of Nearpod, or Padlet, or a lot of these, or IXL, a lot of these different companies, where they'll say, okay, so you have our product for free, but there's going to be limitations with the product. You're not going to get the full suite of it. Another thing you want to think about is some AI programs, you can try it like the 14-day trial. And then obviously you want to make sure that credit card and all that kind of stuff is tied to it. When you're looking at tools, you want to make sure that the tools are going to be FERPA and COPA compliant. So again, you're thinking about online data privacy. You're thinking about keeping your kids safe online with these tools. So again, you want to make sure that these tools are going to be FERPA and COPA compliant. The tools that I'm going to be showing you today are that, and there's some of my favorite tools that I have right now. But just be aware of the freemium tools, right? If you find something that you really like, obviously use your discretion on what you are spending your money on, or requesting from a principal, requesting from your tech department, what have you. You just want to make sure you're doing your due diligence. And then obviously any questions, reaching out to myself. I'll have my contact information at the end, helping to guide. I'm working with a couple of districts right now, so they're looking at actual, district plans, school plans, everything like that, helping to help support that in the future. How are we doing? Any questions so far?
No questions in the chat at this time.
Sweet. Thanks, Michelle. All right. So the two graphics that I'm going to be showing you are a part of, there's a book by Matt Miller. He did Teach Like a Pirate, and he had a book around AI. And so the two graphics I'm going to show you, so this is the first one. So again, rethinking this whole plagiarism, cheating, and thinking about it from the perspective of, kind of this bot created and student created. And so you have this kind of continuum right here. So at the very bottom, you have the student wrote the whole assignment content without consulting the AI or the internet. We're not finding a lot of that these days. Kids are not, yeah, they'll still go to the library and, maybe bust out the Encyclopedia Britannica. I'm not sure a lot of schools have those anymore. So still using the internet. Then you have student consulted the internet and AI for ideas, and then wrote down and submitted. So again, you're thinking there's still kind of that student created, but using that AI effectively, using that internet effectively. And then AI can act as a draft. Student wrote the main ideas, but the AI generated the draft. And then from that draft, the student can then take those ideas and kind of make it their own. Then the very far end where you have the bot created, student put into ChatGPT, write me a 5-page essay on the Industrial Revolution. They copied it, they pasted it, they're done, right? And the thing is, the good thing, with being a teacher, and I was a teacher for 10 years, we get to know our kids, right? So we can see what they're capable of, and we get to see what they're able to do. So we really want to make sure we're kind of paying attention to that. But these are possibilities. And it's actually funny, I think, and I can't remember the study, and once I remember it, I'll make sure to send an email blast out. But there was a study done by an Ivy League, I believe it was out of Yale, and a question was asked of thousands of college students, were they using ChatGPT, like to copy and paste? And the answer was no, that they were just kind of using it just, again, for those main ideas, for kind of that push along the way of helping, thinking about the different topics, or if they got stuck on any kind of thing. So I kind of like this graphic, just kind of showing that continuum of how the AI can be used effectively. I apologize, this is not very easy to see. Let me see if I can scroll in a little bit. Again, so this is the Matt Miller book. I was talking about AI for educators, and he has a graphic in here, just some ideas of how to use AI in the classroom. So when you're thinking about exemplars, when you're thinking about, you have your Kagan structures, your think, pair, shares, the debate the AI is actually a really great activity you can do with your kids, putting that exemplar up, and then how can we have an argument to what the AI created? And you can actually make that a part of your prompt as well. So you can actually tell the AI, hey, put in, numerous grammatical errors, and put in, different tenses and future tenses and past tenses, and you can kind of make it an activity out of it. Thinking about persuasive writing, moving back vocabulary, different definitions. So there's a lot of things that you can do around AI in the classroom that really kind of supports that teaching and learning. I put in the speaker note just some other ideas that you can do with AI in terms of creating anchor charts, in terms of creating any kind of resources or worksheets or anything like that. So that gives you a little bit of a baseline of some of the things that you can do with AI, some things you want to do when you're thinking about AI, the teaching around AI. Now I'm going to spend some time looking at some tools. So we're going to probably spend about 10 to 15 minutes looking at some tools, and then I'm happy to share some resources, open up for questions, things like that. All right. So some of the favorite tools that I'm using right now. So the first one I want to talk about is Brisk Teaching. BRISK Teaching. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stop sharing. And I want to share a different screen. So I'm going to bring this over, press that. And I'm going to share again. Okay. So Brisk Teaching, it is a Chrome extension. So if you are a Google district, I believe they also have a Microsoft extension as well that can work in Edge. But Brisk Teaching really does a good job of integrating right into Google Docs and into Microsoft OneDrive and to Word. Let me show you what it kind of looks like. So I don't know if you can see it, but this little icon right here. So you download the Brisk extension, and it looks like this. It's got a little black circle with a little B, a white B on the inside. Looks like a little arrow pointing to the right. If your district does control your extensions, you just want to talk to your technology department about having it's called having it whitelisted. So basically you're able to download it, or if they just push it out directly through your Google accounts. But you just go to the Chrome Web Store, you type in Brisk Teaching, and so this is what it looks like. So Brisk is free, but again, it's that freemium type program where you get a lot of good features for free. There are some things that you do have to pay for if you want some of the extended versions, but I want to show you a little bit about what it can do. So the first thing I did was I created this little water cycle document right here. And so you can see here, there's some different options that I have. The first thing I want to do is I want to click on Inspect Writing. As you can see here, I'm going to slow this down a bit so you can kind of see, and I'll replay it. So what Brisk does is it looks at the version history of a Google Doc, and it kind of does it as a video. So you can kind of see here, I'm writing normal. So imagine your student is writing normal about the water cycle. You can kind of see here, it's under a minute right now. Here's the different edits that are happening. In a couple of seconds here, and you'll see it right here, I'm going to do a big copy and paste. Boom. So you can kind of see that that part right there was copied from a generative AI. So the nice thing about Brisk is you can kind of go back and you see, so if you're in your Google Classroom or if you're in your learning management system and you're accepting papers from students, you can kind of see kind of the progression that paper made. So again, this is the free version. There's no paid a part of this. So that's kind of a cool little tool. The next thing you have is you can give feedback. So you can see here this premium one, if you want to connect the feedback to a rubric or any kind of standards, that would be a premium feature that you would have to pay for. However, you can do a glow and a grow. So let's say, specify, focus your feedback. I want the paper to be more detailed. So then again, it provides kind of that feedback. It gives you kind of that glow, and then it gives you that grow. You could add a little more details about each stage of the water cycle. For example, you could describe what happens to the water after it soaks into the ground. Then it gives a wondering. You got this little copy, and then you can paste that into the as a comment if you wanted to into it. And again, as you don't have to use this verbatim, but you can use it as an idea when you're actually providing the feedback.
Matt, we do have a question.
Yeah.
What is it that people need to consider when talking to their tech person about getting this specific Chrome app unblocked or allowed?
That's a good question. So a lot of different districts have, the ticketing system. So they know they have like a Jira or they have some kind of ticketing system for like a tech request. What you'll want to do is, I think it's the Chrome Web Store. And then when you click on the Chrome Web Store, I'm just going to type in Brisk. You'll see Brisk Teaching right here. So in this case, what you would do is you can grab this link right from your URL bar, and then submit that as a tech request and just say, hey, I found out about this great tool that I would like to use in my classroom. Could you please either add this to my extensions or allow me to download? So some districts, they'll have there won't be a problem. You just click on here to install it. Obviously, I already have it installed. Some have this grayed out though, depending on their district. Does that help answer the question?
I think so. And then they did have one follow-up question there. Would this be different for students and teachers? Would both accounts need access to this tool?
It's a good question. So the students do not need access to it. The students can have access to it. That is a premium feature though. So you'll want to make sure that if you do allow students to use it, it is a premium feature. There's some other tools I'm going to be showing you that don't require the premium version for students. This was just from my own use. Again, it's using that version history and everything. So it would just really just kind of be for you.
And then we do have one more question too.
Sure.
And this idea, what you just showed us, really might highlight plagiarism in action, right? So what protocols might you recommend a secondary teacher to use with students whose response is defensive? For example, prove it, you can't prove that I used AI. How do you know for sure? Those kinds of questions.
That's interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously the first thing you want to do is kind of having this kind of open dialogue, thinking about your classroom culture, thinking about kind of that transparency piece of, how they use in the classroom. So thinking about, okay, so yeah, obviously going in there, not being presumptive, you want to come in with best intentions and kind of that trust piece, right? And so using tools like Brisk, where you can see that it was a direct block copy, thinking about, again, so I know some teachers at the secondary level also kind of had, kind of used almost like some blended learning strategies where they are, a lot of the research is happening kind of at nighttime, either through the learning management system or watching of videos or anything like that. And then during the actual classroom time is where kids are actually doing some of the assessments, being able to have those kind of discussions and that dialogue. We also have an opportunity, and I'm going to say at the end, and we'll post a little flyer. We have John Spencer coming. He is the author of, and Michelle, you just kind of left my head. It might have left your head too, but he's really going to become. Sorry. Yeah, so he's going to be coming in, and I'll get that book for you in just a second. He's going to be coming in to talk specifically to secondary teachers about the use of AI, thinking about secondary literacy and everything like that. And looks like, Michelle, you had put something in here as well. And yeah, because we definitely want to make sure, because there's no tool that really accurately does the plagiarism. They have these kind of AI detectors. They don't really work very well.
And I think that goes back to the point that you just made, like even in this example that you showed, there could be an extenuating reason why it was cut and pasted. Perhaps this child wrote it in a different document at a different time and those pieces. So that would be a caution. And then I'm also seeing too. I just wanted to, I can put this in the chat. John Spencer's book is The AI Roadmap.
Yeah, roadmap. Thank you. I know it. I remember roadmap, but yeah. But you can kind of see in here, you can also change the level. You can turn this into a quiz. So I can press quiz on here. What should the quiz cover? The water cycle. I can include any kind of standards, what grade level I want. And I click on next. I'll do it as a new Google form. Just authorizing Brisk to use my Google account. And what it's going to do, it's going to create a Google form quiz based off of the water cycle, and it's going to include their answer key already. So again, I only asked for 2 responses on here. I could have asked for multiple. I could add on, so it says I want to add on some multiple choice, brisket, and then it'll add on those choices. All right. Next tool is Canva. I love Canva. Canva is an amazing design tool. You might have heard of Canva before. Canva is free for educators. You'll want to make sure that with Canva, you actually, as a teacher, you get the premium version for free. And so you can actually, when you request the Brisk teaching extension, you can maybe also put in the ticket, you can actually connect with Canva, and they'll have a representative actually work with your technology department to basically push out the premium version of Canva for free to all the teachers in that district. And again, I can help answer some questions about that a little bit later. I'm going to go ahead and create a design real quick. I went ahead and I grabbed a banner. So what I did is I just went to Google Images and I typed in billboard. I just want to show some of the AI features that you can do with Canva that are pretty incredible. So on this image, I'm going to click on edit right here. So first things first, I can click on this BG remover and it removes the background. So thinking about your classroom, you take a picture of your kids, you don't want to have maybe the whiteboard behind you or whatever. Again, this is AI removing the background. You have this magic eraser tool, which is pretty cool. So let's say I want to get rid of this circle with the words on it. So I can kind of just click and drag, click on erase. And erases it. And you kind of see here that it kind of leaves a little bit of remnants. You can continue to, kind of do that and press on that, and it'll just get smaller and smaller and smaller. So you can kind of see, you can customize different images, with the AI. So you can see it's now gone. Another thing you can do is, I love the grab text feature. So what Canva is doing, it's recognizing, oh. Never seen that before. So there you go. So you can see that it's recognizing the different text. I can click on this text right here and press grab. And then from here, I'll be able to change the size. I'll be able to change the font. I can actually, just delete if I wanted to. So a lot of cool things that you can do with Canva and its AI system. Next one, School AI. School AI is another program. This one I actually really like for kids. Because what this does is, with the School AI, there's actually no login for the kids. They don't have to put in their Google information. They don't have to put in any of that information. It's strictly just a link to take them to what are called spaces. And so I'll show you what a space is. So I'm going to click on spaces right here. And so basically a space is like a chat bot. So you can kind of see here, you can talk to different historians and economic professors and authors from throughout history and throughout the world. I can also go in here and I'm going to look up because we're doing the water cycle. So I'm going to type in water cycle right now. So I'm just going to click on exploring the water cycle in order to show you a preview. So this is what it would be for students. Maybe. Let me see if it lets me do it in a new window. All right, so Matt, join. So the chatbot is talking to me now like a student. So hello there, I'm excited to embark on a fascinating journey. Are you ready to dive in? Can you tell me what you think happens during evaporation? I'm not really sure what evaporation means. You can also have it speak to you. So if you're working with kind of these young learners, it'll actually speak the text to you. So no worries, evaporation is like a magic trick where water turns into an invisible gas called vapor. This happens when the sun heats up in rivers. Can you try drawing the sun shining down the body of water and little arrows going up to show the water turning into vapor? So again, it's encouraging both the use of technology and not technology. So it does have a drawing pad in here. So from a student perspective, if they have an iPad or if they want to draw on their device, they can. Otherwise, you would just draw on a regular piece of paper. And again, the prompt for this was, don't give the answer right away, really making sure you're answering questions, making sure you're being interactive, everything like that. So this is an example of School AI and its chatbot, and I absolutely love it. Again, it's kind of that freemium type. Last one is Magic School. You might have heard of Magic School, you might not have heard of Magic School. So Magic School is I kind of think of it like a Swiss Army knife of AI tools for education. As you can see on here, it has the chatbot, so they named their chatbot Reina. But on here you have, okay, so I can email the family, I can create an advanced learning plan, a survey creator, a lesson plan, a text rewriter, YouTube video questions. So like you can paste in a YouTube link and it'll actually scan the video and give you questions based off of that video. So let's just do, I don't know, let's do the rubric generator as an example. So let's say we're doing 7th grade. Students will be able to learn about the water cycle. And again, you want to make sure you're being pretty specific and detailed. If you do more general, it's going to be a more general rubric. So the more specific you are, the better. Please use vocabulary such as evaporation. Click on general. And there's my rubric. So as you can see, that took, I don't know, 5 seconds to create a rubric. And again, this really helps with teachers developing a base and a foundation, not necessarily copying and pasting and using verbatim, but it gives you a nice little strong foundation. And so you're not spending hours and hours and hours kind of creating these. Yep, please use the NGSS evidence. Yep, exactly. Or please use the Common Core standards and actually put in the Common Core standards, and then it's going to be a lot more specific. And then you can see here, I can either copy it, I can save this resource, I can, add some more things to it. I can translate it if I want to. I can translate it. I think it has over 100 different, maybe like 60 or 70 different languages. So let's say I want to translate it to Spanish. So again, when you're thinking about resources for any kind of families or your multilingual learners, you have these available.
We're having some questions in the chat about whether or not people can check for their topics without logging in. Is that something you would need a login to be able to like check for things like spinning Earth or understanding sound, that kind of a thing?
Can you be a little more specific? Sorry.
Sure. So this is a question from someone else. So if that's you
Okay.
and you would like to clarify that. So maybe not, but I think they're just wondering if they wanted to see if those topics were covered. Do you have to
Okay.
log into Magic School to be able to see?
Yeah. So yeah, it is. You do have to log in for this particular program. Programs like Chat GPT also is a login. You basically have to use login for everything. I know with Google, if you're a Google district, depending on your tech department, they're including what's called Google Gemini into kind of their Google searches. And so sometimes when you ask it, you'll get it right above the search results. I'm not sure if you're seeing that yet, but it gives you AI kind of these recommendations. But you usually do have to kind of log in. I see a question about the translation. I've heard it's very, very accurate. I've been working with Khalil and Zainab from our MLL department. I know Khalil is doing a session on AI as part of the Summer Learning Blitz. I'm not sure of the sources for the translator. I know it's not just like Google Translate. I know it's using more advanced than that. All right, so a couple honorable mentions. So Kirapod is a cool one. What Kirapod does is similar to Nearpod. So if you're familiar with Nearpod, where you're able to you have these like interactive presentations where kids it'll control the screen for the kids, where kids will have different kind of activities. You got the OG Chat GPT right here. This is kind of the tried and true. A lot of these different systems are based off of OpenAI, which is off of Chat GPT. Chat GPT is free. You don't have to have you don't have to pay for it. Diffit, another great one. This one does a really good job in terms of differentiated resources that you can get. Edpuzzle is around video, but it does that kind of that YouTube video where it can create the questions for you and make them more interactive. So a lot of these, and then the last one for our secondary folks, the Enlighten Me does a really good job of actually grading student work. So actually putting a grade to actually, to papers and essays and things like that. Oh, I feel like I've been talking a lot. So that's really everything around AI and the classroom.
Matt, we have a couple of comments that might be worth like from the chat.
Yeah, please.
So Kaylin, I already checked with Kaylin to see if she might be willing to share a little bit about what she posted about more in the around the topic of plagiarism.
Yeah,
Hi.
Kaylin. Yeah, why don't you
Hello.
go ahead and unmute yourself? Yeah,
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Great. So some teachers in our district at Plymouth Canton, the high school teachers put a proof of positive authorship statement in their syllabus. And it basically kind of requires that students use the document that was generated by the LMS. We have Canvas, and so it'll automatically generate a Google document attached to the assignment. Google Classroom has a similar function. That way they have revision history, and then you could use something like Brisk, or there's actually an extension called revision history that I think does a really nice job of just giving a good recap of big copy paste and time spent in the document. And then also by having the assignment set up that way, they explain to the students with that proof of positive authorship that they should see regular progress on the assignment over time, especially in an English class. And they also mention having that the student's writing voice should be evident. So those are that's a way that they help to put some of the ownership on the students to be able to see the regular edits. And then I'll just add to, I think it's very helpful to be really transparent with students about what kinds of AI assistance is okay, because without guidance, they might just be like, well, they didn't say, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. But if you're very clear about, well, this is what AI can help you with, and this is what it shouldn't help you with, and why not, then that helps to relieve some of maybe the gray area that students might see.
Perfect. Thanks, Kaylin.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you. Was there any other comments, Michelle?
This is more of a question, but thinking about the Magic School, which is really hard for me not to say Magic School Bus whenever I say that.
Yeah.
The Magic School app, that program, that feature, would you recommend that as a station for a science rotation?
One thing about Magic School, and let me go back here, is it does have the Magic School student version. So the Magic Student. So Magic School is FERPA and COPA compliant. So it does have that feature. And a lot of the things that are in Magic Student, the nice thing is when it does require student logins. So again, you will want to make sure that if your district requires any kind of permissions from any kind of families to be able to use the programs, you definitely want to look into that. But all the different programs, the nice thing is whatever they put in there, you will get a report of what answers they put in and what output came out. And so if you're, and the same thing happens with School AI, with this as well, it'll actually show you, here's the conversation Matt had, and it actually does that kind of like a feelings chart. So depending on the tonal language used, it'll actually give you if the student was feeling, sad or mad or happy or whatever. So going back to the original, having it as kind of like a station, I think it's a great idea. Thinking about as like a research station, or again, using the chat bot if there's any, because it kind of acts as like multiple teachers. So I'd actually think that's a great idea.
And then we do have another well, it is a question. Someone arrived a little later to the session, but they just wanted to know if it's okay to reach out to you directly for questions, maybe about specific areas like music or art. Is that okay to email?
Absolutely. I would absolutely love that. Yep. So smootem@risa.net. I love talking about this stuff. I'm happy to come out to your buildings. I'm happy to do any kind of professional learning, some kind of one-on-one things with you. I can send you some different resources and everything. So yeah, I love talking about this stuff. So feel free to please reach out if you have any questions or need any kind of guidance. I would absolutely love that. So yeah. We have a couple more minutes, so I don't know if we want to have kind of some just open dialogue questions, or maybe is there a tool out there that someone has been able to find that they really like, that they maybe want to kind of talk about to the group? Also, please make sure you do sign in. Michelle had put in a link to the sign in from before. Michelle, would you, I can also go back. I'll repost just to make sure you're getting your sign in. Oh, you already got it. Love it. AI scale for assignments. Kaylin, can you come off mute for a second? Just kind of talk.
Sure. Like I have neighborhood kids playing video games in the background, but
Okay.
I hopefully, as I was saying about trying to be transparent about the expectations around AI assistance, so that scale is similar to like a stoplight scale, but it has, I think, 5 different colors and gradations. So that might be a format where you could add a little more transparency to students as far as what's okay to use and what's not okay to use. And his blog post, he's a teacher working on his PhD, I believe, too. So smart guy. He explains it a little bit more in that post.
Awesome. Thanks. All right. Well, 3:59. So I think we're basically here. So thank you again for coming. I hope you found this to be informational. I hope you found this to be helpful. Good luck on your AI journey. Good luck on the beginning of the school year. If there's anything you need, please feel free to reach out, smootem@risa.net. And I will hopefully talk to you all soon.